Hello friends, I will start where I had left off last time. So, if you remember here, can you please show this? I am sure some of you are familiar with what this item is. This is taken directly from one of those websites. This is a printed circuit board, probably schematic capture and layout software. Why I have taken it is, here is an illustrative example which I am trying to walk through with you, which shows how people go about their things. And you see here you remember all this. I had already shown you all these things earlier, saying somewhere we need to start about it, probably have a schematic capture software, and now comes the other thing. Which comes first? Do we have the egg or the chicken or the egg syndrome? So, I think you can read it for yourself. It is a Arduino RC transmitter. Why I wanted to show you this is, they are using the standard Arduino chip, but trying to build things around. So, I think you can probably go around and see and all that. Probably the very starting point of all these things is this. It is not a full fledged what shall I say, regular schematic diagram, neither it is a full layout of this thing on a breadboard. A breadboard will be much wider, while schematic diagram is more of the higher level. But what to notice here is that everything is already nicely logically split into subsystems, and for a little bit of convenience sake, they have made things look a little like how the final the layout is going to be. So, you see here there are buttons, and right now I will not talk about it, probably it is a joystick, and there are some things here for maybe more buttons, and then you have something here and so on, probably for the. So, here see, most important, you have seen this here, the something needs 3.3 volts and recommended to come from a dedicated source. So, somewhere you have to take a decision and get into this PCB design, and again once again this PCB design is very much dependent upon the layout of the final project what we would like to have. So, there are some saying how to layout it and all that. Finally, at this moment, let me say it is just that the PCB is ready. I will not go beyond that, though I have used the concept saying it is a printed wiring board. It is not so much as a circuit, because a circuit itself refers to now we have devices which can be built directly into the substrate. So, there the circuit becomes embedded in this. In this case, it is just a connection board. Now, if you see carefully here, you see here we have two potentiometers, some knobs, and these are the joysticks. And then you have something else also. Here you have seen this. There is a small connector, and then there is a antenna for this, and this is probably the main chip, because you can even see a crystal. And then important thing once again is something which we love to hate, power supply, and we end up with monstrous batteries, and then there is a battery holder. If you want these batteries to be changed, you need to have a battery holder, else you need to build it into this. Now you see here, there they have given here, we need to insert one of the sub-assemblies and get the thing ready. This is partly ready. So, we see here that is a what you call, one of them is a regulator thing, and then after that we have a capacitor, then we have the near the module and so on here. No, all these things sometimes come after the first iteration. So, this of course, it is a matter of detail saying how do you put things there and so on, and then you see here the most important thing here is the equivalent to a joystick, and then we have the push buttons which are required for other controls. So, eventually everything is ready. Now comes the other thing. For the first time when you want to try, what you would like to do properly is saying, is it possible for us to put a cover on that? Okay, for various practical purposes and for you to do the first iteration, what these people have done is, he is now showing you how to trace the printed circuit board directly on the onto a transparent sheet. So, in this case it looks like it is one of those PMMA acrylic sheets. So, it just is taking a what you call felt pen, and you see what he is doing, he is just taking a small fret saw, this is a small fret saw, and eventually filing it off. Why I have shown you this is, as of now, even today, probably this is how things are done. At the first iteration, it is not worth directly going away for a very sophisticated rapid prototyping what do you call full fledged setup. You see here even transferring the holes, and then you see this is where the critical part of it comes. If we had followed a scheme which I am going to suggest, we could have probably avoided this step, saying directly when you made the printed circuit board layout, there is something called a DXF file that can be extracted from this. You see here, a DXF file can be extracted, and when you extract the DXF file, you see this round circular outline, and then you say we have a round circular outline, they have these switches, all these things can directly be printed to scale. Why I chose this is, you can probably avoid taking this partly assembled printed wiring board and unnecessarily spending time on it. So, for an illustrative example, this is good. I am not saying this is the wrong way of doing it. This in fact, it is an extremely good way of doing it, because it shows how things are built. But in your case, what I suggest is, after you make this printed wiring board, you see this, there generally a component outline marking legend marking layer, a print. You can probably extract a DXF file from here and get the outline, and if you print all of them in your printer to a same scale, generally there is not a big problem, plus or minus 0.2 millimeters, we can go ahead and cut the thing. So, that this whole thing about seen this, this part about tracing it and trying it to you understand, this part of it can be avoided, but then there is no issue about it at all. And then you see this is we could have directly jumped to this layer, and you see here we are coming to how to assemble an acrylic cover on top of it. It is very easy, and this is where probably your creativity and learning by not by trial and error, improving on what has been done earlier. You will notice here that this, while the acrylic is insulated, there are, it is alarming to see conductive screws everywhere, because unwittingly we may go and place a conductive spacer on top of it. So, while making the layout, it can be made into island zones which should not be extended upon, or if it is going to be tight, you should remember to put an insulating washer. So, you get washers in all materials, very loosely something called the, what do you call, various types of phenolic washers are available, and you just have to select a proper one. And the only disadvantage is often those spacers and washers may extend beyond the board outline. So, here they have shown something, no. Again I told you, the irritating part of it is the power supply. There is no simple way of getting rid of the power supply. However, in the second round when we make it, it is very much possible probably to replace this whole thing with a single flat lithium polymer pack. Typically lithium polymer packs are small, and it is very much possible for us to look for the proper thing, and only thing is you have to be careful on how well you try to charge them. So, you see here, after finishing this, see here one more nice interesting thing. This is the RF portion of it. So, we have a antenna here, and there is something called a programming header here. This programming header, through all this, we need to finally load all these things and your project is ready. Of course, I am not going to talk about these things, but you see here that you have seen here, it looks like this runs this small, I do not know what I call it, just a trial device, and then all the other things are explained here, saying 2 joysticks, and we have 2 potentiometers, then there are several toggle switches, then we have a accelerometer, then we have the transmitter, and then we have the amplifier plus this thing. So, in the end, what started here, we have a fully working PCB. I thought I will just stop it here and try to go back to our thing, what we can do. Perhaps you remember yesterday, let me locate. Yes. I have started with what I thought was a very exotic and beautiful remote controller, and the whole thing has been, I do not know which program, anything is there, but this particular coloring and all these things were done on a free Autodesk pixeler editor, because the colors come vivid, and it is very, very interesting and nice to see them. See, if you are a little closer, it is exotic, just for the fun of it I have randomly picked. One side of the remote is supposed to look like this, the other side of the remote, instead of these 8 buttons, this has only 4 buttons, it is supposed to look like that. It all, if you remember, no, it all started here, and then eventually other variants are also worked out. Why I was trying to show you this is, now you see here, in case you want to add any meaningful graphics and key, what you call, designations, you can use any of the existing tools which are available for you. All you probably need is any old laptop, and then you come here and you beautifully have, you can add. As I said, this is only a not a great this thing, it is not, I am not, this is not going to talk to you about how to make any meaningful product. It is more to do with what is just lying around. You see this remote is the one that has been picked up from the our thing what we have here. See this, it still is complicated, very, very, very complicated. Okay. Now they call it universal. I will just show you, I will just bring it from there and just show you. It is complicated, have you noticed? Now there are too many things, there are just too many switches, and I really do not know. All I have here is a huge monitor, in fact it is a monitor wall, and I dare not press anything here. For one of the things, simply it says video source. If by mistake, if I press the video source, finished, all my picture is gone and I can't get back at all, because I have to probably scroll through 2 what you call RCA inputs and then 2 HDMI inputs, plus we have a satellite link, plus we have a regular cable, and luckily this does not have, often there is also a small what do you call optical link also. So this is far too complicated to be of any practical use. Now if you look at my presentation, you see here, maybe what are all those buttons doing there? I am not very sure what the buttons are doing there, too complicated. See this, and there is something I do not even know what it means, and there is something which I am not sure what are all the functions which are there like that. Hence my thing saying, why do not I make a simpler remote control. This is where when started this. My colleague was a professional artist and model maker. He is just trying to demonstrate. What has been done is, we have just taken a printout of the device which I have shown you, and just kept it on a flat sheet, Of course, he has that special cutting sheets, and there we are. And the next one. So, you see here my colleague nicely laid out everything, and he used where possible he has used a straight edge, and all the straight curves are done here. After that, he has just used what I call X-Acto or art knife, cut all around, and then you have there this beautiful thing getting ready. You have seen here. And the only disadvantage here at this point is where I have learnt by hard error, this particular photo paper which I have picked up is not stiff enough, and there is no way we could what you call attach it to a cardboard and all that. So, it looked a little flimsy. Now, this is where the actual critical things come. Have you seen here at the back? We have a graph sheet. This one is a millimeter graph. So, I have intentionally what I call aligned it to one side. Now, I can just count all the what I call various items and see how accurate it is towards the original concept which I have thought about. Why this is required is, we have this issue of should we make it top down or inside out approach. In the case of a top down, we just make the what you call this whole concept as we expect it to be, and in the case of the bottoms up approach, we have a standard what you call a component layout, probably which is a reference design which is supplied by the manufacturer. So, something in between by which you probably need to make a layout and make all these things, we come to all these things. Can you see here? One side of my concept compared to the earlier remote control, one side is going to fully concentrate about in a room the display what we have. In the case of the display, it can be a television set, or it can be an overhead projector, or now these days so many more items are there. So, one of the easiest thing you can think about is probably you have seen the Apple TV box, or you have seen the various type of cast devices. One of the early cast devices is probably Chromecast, then you also have Amazon Fire Stick and so many other variants. So, this particular what you call remote will control all those things, hence all these buttons. What do these buttons do? You have to assign them. You decide whether one of them is for the what you call devices which will take care of the input of your display, and I said that display can be a very simple display like a TV, or it can be a thing which students often use, like we have a projector and you have a PowerPoint presentation which is there. So, this when I say C, control can be handed over to that. Then this is where my colleague is now trying to what you call assemble the device as we expect it to be assembled. Of course, there was an error. Everything doesn't work well the first time. So, that is how we have bespoke shoes, tailored clothes, and then designer everything. So, you see here there are some unwanted spaces here, while at one level it looks fine, to get it into the shape still takes a little bit of work. So, you have here a full fledged what you call remote, and one side can see what it is, the other side it shows the feel you have in your room. In this case the feel can be the ambient temperature control, typically the heating or the cooling, or these days we also have the lighting. You can have lighting, change color and so on, and a little related to it is the music and various types of things which you do not need to look at it. You can do some other activity and you just have a proper ambient. Instead of calling it ambient, I have just roughly called it there. So, the other side of the PCB is see something, and this side of the what you call my remote is something to do with how it feels to have the remote. So, I will now stop here and try to get back to where I had started earlier. This is what I was looking for. This is the printed wiring board from the that schematic which I have shown you. Okay, let me put it, the rendered model which I showed you. Now, we come to this, do we start here and go up, or we start there and go up? In my case, obviously both are important. Since this is a fairly standardized unit, it is not impossible for us to put all these things where we want. So, you see the other side of the, I think I will add it later. So, if you see the other side of the printed wiring board, we have the various types of tracks, and we can just rearrange everything. You see here at one side, you probably have on the other side of this, I am not able to locate the picture, you have the tracks meant for various types of, just like in this picture, if you remember, we had the display, then you have, these are the keypads. So, you can now in fact probably do a cut and paste job and make a PCB layout based on the outside the model which I have made, which I feel it is a very useful and slightly different way of making things compared to earlier way of doing what do you call things in a got it here. Have a look at this. You have seen here on the other side, these are all the keys. So, probably you can take one of these traces from here and probably copy those what you call the tracks, which we have the what you call plus and I am sorry, high and low what you call tracks, and then place them wherever you want directly under the layout of the cardboard remote which I have shown you. So, in that you have here probably this one goes to the infrared LED on the other side, while these other keys and all are I do not know how, where they come and what is the thing. You see here, finally I got it here. Somebody has opened what looks like a we have a beautiful remote which is supposed to join together. I do not actually know what they call the device is, but I have here a nice wiring board and circuit board which goes into this enclosure, and you will also notice that there is a opening, and on the side there is one more they call input output board, and on this side we have the important thing saying we have 2 keys, then you have a place for 2 batteries, and then 2 cells to make a battery, and then you have the whole your construction ready. So, my suggestion is that one is a ready made off the shelf part of some system somebody has bought, but if you are to make it and you want to avoid getting into multiple things which are not that useful. Oh, this we have seen earlier. Where we can avoid all these things, we should follow that sequence of start with a reasonable layout, gather all the information about the components, and take a graph sheet, arrange all the various components on the graph sheet, and in case you do not have components, if you have been seeing my earlier pictures, one of the things you will notice is that the outline mechanical drawings are available everywhere. So, you make decals to scale. As I said, usually there will be a tabular column in one corner which will tell you what is the height, what is the mounting and all that. Make a decal which is exactly representing that. Now, you can play around all this like a jigsaw puzzle, try various options, and whatever is best that can be done at that point, you can always attach it to them and get your beautiful board ready without any problem. You will have things like this. You see here, obviously it has gone through several iterations. This is from the remote control or equivalent remote control what I have shown you. Now, these are the 2 sides of the printed circuit board. On the top side, for every button here, you will see there is a corresponding pad here. Contact pad, and usually in the earlier technology there used to be a button in which there used to be a conductive pad. So, this conductive pad goes and sits on top of it, it makes a connection. The only thing what I want to tell you is a general purpose device like this first of all is cheap and very good, but however a little confusing for the user. Now, you can always make something on your own, use all this whatever you can, and then use all this, see whichever functions are most useful for us and try to build on these things. So, I will stop here and we will continue again next time with a actually little more of a physical example. So far I have covered 2 things. One is saying how to use the printer which you have at home and make nice prints as per some concept which you like to have, and I have shown you what is a somewhat possible unit which can be used in real life. So, we will meet again in the next lecture. Hope you look around the various things you have in the house you would like to have. One of the starting things are, for example, that remote control what you have for the TV, I think it is not correct to disturb it, just leave it there. However, you do have ambient control, like you have the air conditioner that is cooler and heater, then you probably have a remote fan, then you have lights all around the house, and then often you probably have a small device which is an FM radio or some audio device in which you can get music. So, imagine a product which you would like to make, a small remote control which other than the TV, you are just lying around and you can do everything else in the house, except of course meddle with the things in the kitchen. It will not be a great thing if you blow up the kitchen. So, generally it is very rare for the kitchen gadgets to have any of these remotes except the chimney, and these days some of the chimneys are also built along with the microwave which just sits on top of the hob. You have a hob, on top of it you have a microwave which incidentally is the chimney, and it has both options, it recyclates and it also exhausts, plus you have lighting on top of it. Why did they make it? I have no reason, but that is very popular in all the cooler climates. Probably it also helps in saving a little bit of heat, and in case you want to have a keep warm function, it is good. Some of those devices do come with a remote by which you can make the noise less. You can switch on the lights and probably start the micro carousel, but it does not allow the main baking or grilling function via the remote. That you have to do by hand. And then basically you have the cooking range. So you have a gas range, or you can have a various types of ceramic shot glass range or anything. Usually underneath that directly you have a huge oven. So in those ovens they try to make the other things. So concentrate on making that, think about a small remote which you use for controlling things around the house other than the TV. So thank you. I will stop here. We will try to continue the next time. Thank you.